Hi Stars, episode 3. Interesting that I'm here. I'm working on a lot of stuff, but for this video or this episode, I was mostly focusing on thumbnail. I was comparing the last two videos, and one thumbnail is like buns and one isn't. And I do think there is a little bit of a difference in terms of clickability. I know that I judge a book by its cover, a thumbnail by its cover, so I think that's something I have to focus on. Also, for this one, I'm gonna focus more on audio because, hold on. I'm gonna focus more on audio because on the last video, it sounded better, but there was much more, how do I describe this? The volume was very low. Like, I had to turn it up quite a bit on my laptop to be able to listen to it or hear it normally compared to your average video. So that's what I'm focusing on this too. The first episode, or the first and second episode, were which mic worked better, and then this one I'm gonna focus on thumbnail and audio. And I think next one I'll focus on lighting, and maybe pacing. But that's it for my progress on podcast quality. Let's get into the book. So before the coffee gets cold, I finished the first part, the lovers, and that's what we're gonna be talking about. I did get more into the book this time. I did actually enjoy reading it. Instead of it felt like a little bit of homework. But there's just so much to go, and I'm really trying to speed run through this. But I am using this book and like this, the episodes of this book as a learning thing, so I can learn everything, and then I'll like the actual series that I want to read will have better quality, be better overall. Is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so where I left off, the cliffhanger. Fumiko got woken up by Kazu and was told, "Hey, it's ready. You're good, or it's ready. Get in the seat." Me opening the wrong doc. Hold on, guys. Give me 1 second. Okay, so episode 3. And then, by the way, a little bit more on how the first two episodes are doing. Right now they have 8 views in total, which of course is nothing in the world of YouTube, but I think it's cool. I do think the one with the better thumbnail has 7 views, and then the one with the less appealing thumbnail has 2 views or 1 view. So it does make a difference, which is why I wanted to try making a better thumbnail, basically. Okay, but I'm still working on Prohairesis. I actually don't know how to say that word yet. I've only read it. More details on that another time. So, Kazu wakes up Fumiko asking if she wants to sit in the seat. The ghost woman has moved. Also, if you don't listen to the other two, you kind of will not have any idea what I'm talking about, but basically, there is this ghost woman that Fumiko, our main character, is waiting to move so that she can travel to the past. That's all I can give. That's like your whole gist. But okay, hold on. Kazu wakes up Fumiko asking if she wants to sit in the seat. Fumiko wakes up, she's like, oh my goodness, yes, yes. And so she goes to sit in the seat. She kind of just stares at the seat for a little bit, like, this is really happening. What should I do? Should I react a certain way? Should I be calm, nervous, whatever? And she looks at the seat very much expectantly, as she sits down, and then after, like, thinking about it, she says, "Take me to 1 week ago." And she just sits there. I'm really imagining her sitting there with her eyes closed and, like, she's like this. Like, take me to 1 week ago. But no, it's not that easy. She started looking around after, like, she does the whole thing, expectantly, like, oh, what happened? Has anything changed? Are we back in time? But then nothing changes. So she starts doubting herself and that she went through this whole ordeal for literally nothing to happen. But then Kazu comes back. She's holding a silver tray and announces there is one more rule. Another rule. as we've discussed, there's a handful of rules. Like, there's more than one. The biggest one being that nothing will change from the past, which is, as discussed, a big reason why people don't continue or go through with going to the past, because what's the point of going to the past if you can't change anything? But there is that. And then she has a cup and a carafe, which is where they pull the coffee. So I worded this sentence really weirdly. I wrote, she explains about pouring a cup coffee, Fumiko questions it. What does that mean? But I know what it means because I wrote it. Basically, Kazu explains that after she pours this cup, she's gonna go back in time, and she has to come back before the coffee gets cold. Title of the book: Before the coffee gets cold, or she will get stuck in the past. Or she doesn't get stuck in the past. Hold on. She will get stuck as the ghost. So if she does not come back in time before the coffee gets cold, she will become the ghost, and she will get stuck in the past. And while she's saying that, Kazu gets really close to her face, and is like, "Dude, this is serious. If you don't come back, you are going to become the ghost." Just to put emphasis on, like, this is a big deal. Like, it doesn't come with no risks. And Fumiko says something along the lines like she was prepared for there to be risks because going back in time is not something to be done simply. After hearing this, Fumiko wavers and cares more about. But okay, hold on. Fumiko's wavering about, like, oh my goodness, what if I get turned into the ghost? Like, this is bad. Like, I knew there was gonna be risk, but I didn't know it was gonna be this bad. But she's more worried about the taste of the coffee. Like, she talks again and again, like, my laptop. She keeps bringing up, like, the taste of coffee is bad. Like, what if it's so bitter that she can't drink it and she gets stuck as the ghost? Like, not finishing the cup, but the taste of the coffee is going to prevent me from coming back because I don't want to drink. Which I thought was interesting, but, I mean, go off kind of thing, because I don't like coffee. Fun fact, I don't like coffee, and I work at a coffee shop. But I don't like coffee, but we have to, like, we are forcefully made to do tryouts of coffee. Just so we can tell customers if the coffee's good, if it's bad, if it's bitter, if it has notes of cocoa. By the way, whenever a coffee says if there's whenever someone says that there's a taste of, like, cocoa, marshmallow, cinnamon in the coffee, they're lying to you. I cannot taste. I have sat there and swirled around the coffee in my mouth, because that's how you do coffee tastings, and I'm telling you, I cannot taste anything. Maybe I should keep trying, but, like, I don't like the taste of coffee to start off with, and then they lie to me that there's a taste of marshmallow in this. Like, how do you even get a taste of marshmallow in an cocoa bean, or a bean that's whatever. We just won't think about it. But anyway, Fumiko cares more about the taste of the coffee than potentially turning into a ghost. That's what I'm getting here, because she ponders about turning into a ghost like maybe 2 or 3 times. She talks about coffee the entire rest of this section. Like, she keeps bringing it up. Even while talking to Goro and going back in the past and everything, she keeps talking about the taste of the coffee. But with one final warning about drinking the coffee, like, Kazu's really serious about this. She pours the coffee, and then her space begins shifting. She describes it as nauseating. She has to close her eyes, and she gets scared. This is the first time in, like, this whole little section that she is scared. I couldn't guess she was scared or just anxious about Goro leaving her, but this is, like, the first time that we see that she is scared. This Fumiko, this powerful woman, career driven, doesn't care about love. Well, now she does, but she didn't care about love in the past. Now she is scared when she is in an unfamiliar space, but she just is yearning for the chance to see Goro again. So there is that shift. My belly just rumbled. Okay, so she closes her eyes, and when she thinks back, we have, like, a little cut scene. That's what I'm gonna call it, a cut scene, where they go back to talking about how Goro and Fumiko met. So 2 years ago, before this whole time travel to the past and everything, Fumiko is a project director while Goro is working another position. They were within the same company, but they were in different positions, and Fumiko was a director. She was above Goro. And Fumiko's character, as described before she met Goro, was very work ethic, very powerful character, work, work, work. She wanted to succeed and didn't care about anything else. Um, while doing this, by the way, Fumiko thought that Goro was much older than her. It does say a little bit because of how he looks, but mostly because he was the most competent. He was the smartest of all the people, so she assumed that he was older. That is before she finds out that he is actually her junior. But they're working on this project, and while they're almost done, they're a week away from the deadline, they find a bug. I took one class of coding so far in university. Let me tell you, when there is a bug in the code, it is incredibly, incredibly annoying. I had to sit there once, more than once, guys. I had to sit there maybe 5 times that it happened to me in this one quarter of just having to sit there and going line by line by line. And this is just basic Python, by the way. Basic Python. Line by line by line, trying to figure out what the bug is. And then it being something dumb is incredibly annoying. But it's really annoying. And they found a bug, which they're in this big company, whatever. So this is much more complicated, and it's gonna take more than like the 2 or 3 hours that it took me. It would take them months. And that's what they talk about, is like, we're a week away from the deadline, and this is a bug that's gonna cause months worth of work. We're screwed. And Fumiko is a little bit in distress again because her position, she's the director. Her position is in danger, and the potential to get demoted or the potential to lose face is on the table, and she is super frantic about it. But during this, Goro disappeared when they find the bug and everything, and the people around him, as people do, begin gossiping, and it is now the gossip or the chisme, that he is the one that created the bug, and that is why he disappeared. Fumiko doesn't fully believe it, but she does have it on the plate. Like, maybe this is the reason why, and maybe this is why. And they do talk about, like, oh, when everybody's in distress, someone has to take the blame to make everybody feel better. Say, oh, it wasn't my fault. It was, it had to be, it happened. But at least it wasn't me, type of thing. But 2 days before the bug, or 2 days before the deadline, Goro reappears and the bug is fixed. So he went out of his way to fix the bug and figure out what was wrong and fixed it. And that is why he didn't tell anybody. They do talk about a little bit like he hasn't showered and he didn't smell the nicest, but they did not mind because they saved them. He single-handedly saved their entire group, and saved the project and saved Fumiko's position, which is the big thing. This is where Fumiko falls in love, someone who's as work-oriented, someone who matches her level. She finally found someone, and that is why Fumiko has fallen the way that she has. And then it goes to Fumiko didn't know about Tip G. She didn't know that Tip G was in America, and then from the moment that she found out, she was anguishing for the loss of Goro that hadn't happened yet. And she knew she was going to be super, super upset. But she didn't go out of her way to ever bring it up and say something along the lines of, I don't want you to go, or I'm going to miss you. Because she has pride, as the very work-oriented woman she is. But here there is power dynamics. Fumiko as a project director, blah blah. Fumiko as a project director falsely suspecting Goro of sabotage. This is where we see Goro disappearing, and then everyone thought it was him, but it wasn't him. He is their savior. And then when he actually is the one saving the project, good material. This is more real world examples. There's a lot of assumptions, and then versus the trust in professional relationships. I am still in university, so I can't really say anything about professional settings. I can only tell you about like my part-time jobs, and I would not use those as good examples because my jobs are not professional. There is a lot of talking behind everybody's back, disliking each other. Um, at least where I work, I do my best to stay neutral because at this age and at in the position that I am, I've learned that it doesn't matter if people are older. Professional settings are not always acted upon. No matter the age, there's gonna be assumptions. So there is that, and then we end the cutscene, and Fumiko opens her eyes and sees Goro. And she is super, super confused, disoriented, and she starts panicking. She says the coffee is too bitter. This is where I start like writing down every single time that she says the coffee is too bitter because out of all the things she could be thinking about, she's thinking about the coffee being too bitter. And then they kind of like she shocks Goro because of her reaction. Like they're having a normal thing, and then out of nowhere she like is frantic, and he doesn't know what's going on. But it's because she just got back. Like she's traveling back in time. So of course she's gonna be frantic, but Goro doesn't know that. But after she's trying to regain her composure, and she starts arguing with Goro, and this is where she realized that she's kind of blowing it. She went through all this trouble. She went to the past, and she is still letting her pride overtake her and not saying what she really wants to say. And she gives up, and she says nothing will stop him from going to America. So after all the troubles that she went through, after being in an unfamiliar place, accepting what it is that she wants, accepting that she needs to change for Goro because she loves him, she goes back in time and messes it up. And Fumiko finishes her coffee and she begins to go back. And this is where Goro confesses. So something has changed from the conversation they're having right now to the time to 1 week ago when this entire thing originally happened. As she begins to going back, her surroundings warp. He said he shouldn't have fallen for her and that he believed one day she would leave. We open a completely new side of Goro. He was like Fumiko, very work oriented, and at some point in here they say he is borderline obsessed with his work. But he has a weak side that Fumiko did not take the time to see because she begins to go through flashbacks of their conversations, their dates, and she just notices these little things about him being insecure, him feeling like he's not enough, etc., etc. And this is where she is again in distress because she didn't notice this. She loves this person and she didn't take the time to notice what was wrong with him or what was bothering him. So that really starts to burn her mentally, not physically. Burn her. But this is also where Goro reveals a burn scar. It's from his eyebrow to his ear. Something like he says they have bangs, so it's probably like this. And then he's like, but kind of showing a physical scar to the mental scar that he has been developing because of Fumiko. Again, Fumiko is this beautiful, work-oriented woman. She can get whoever she wants, basically. And Goro just doesn't feel like he can live up to it. And that has been hurting him over the course of their relationship. And then we cut to Goro asking her to please wait 3 years for him, just as like she completely warps away. So Goro asked her to stay to wait for him 3 years because even despite all the mental scars, the hurt, the ignorance of Fumiko and the way that he feels, he still loves her. He did fall for her, and that is why he is asking Fumiko to wait for him, which is super cool. It's not over, guys. It's not over. And then Fumiko returns, and the ghost woman walks back out of the bathroom and tells her to move. I do believe this is the first time that the ghost woman actually says something to her, because it's described as she walks up to her, she stares at her in the eyes, and she tells her, move. And then Fumiko moves, she's still disoriented, and Kazu comes back up to her and asks her how it went. Um, Fumiko begins her questions about what will happen from now on. Basically, she's asking, like, is it real? Did it actually matter? Is it just like a recollection of her memories and how she wanted them or hoped for them to play out and is in her favor? Or is that actually real? Like, does it actually have significance? Um, and this is the first time in this entire story, this entire section, that Kazu smiles. This entire section, they talk about her being very melancholy. She doesn't smile. She doesn't give emphasis, energy, nothing. She's very bland, boring. And this is the first time that Kazu smiles to Fumiko, um, and explains to her that that is real. You can believe it. And then Kazu rings her up, and it's 420 yen, and Fumiko happily pays. I was supposed to search up how 420 yen is in USD. I just forgot to. Hold on. But $3. So for $3, what a deal, guys. For $3, you can go back in time, you can get a cup of coffee, and you get free therapy. Tell me that's not a great deal. $3. 400 yen, guys. Okay. And then Fumiko bowed to the cafe. She says she bows to Kazu, and she turns around, she bows to the cafe. No one in particular, just a thank you. Because this was her closure. This gave her what she needed to keep going. Because at this point, Fumiko has been in the cafe for 2 days. I'm pretty sure. Because she's been there for a while. And then the whole thing, like, there's no windows, and the clocks are all different times, so you literally have no idea what's going on or what time it is. But Fumiko bows to the cafe, she leaves, and the ghost woman gives, like, they cut to the ghost woman, she gives a slight smile, and she closes the novel that she's reading, the book, and it's titled The Lovers. The Lovers being Goro and Fumiko, and it ties the whole story together. And I believe this is the last time we're gonna know Fumiko and Goro, but their story ended in a happy one. And it was all thanks to this cafe, guys. Because Fumiko could have gone back to life, ignored everything, just be sad, and not knowing that Goro was going to come back for 3 years. But now she knows. Now that's going to happen. But just something to talk about, the wait for 3 years request. It is the hope that Fumiko needed and the closure that she needed. She was in distress because, again, Goro is her first love. She does not know anything about this. She's always been a very work person. Like, she didn't care about anything else. She wasn't interested in anybody else. But Goro changed her, and changed her for what we think or what we see is for the better, because she is no longer just robotic and only caring about her work. She becomes more human, to say, because she begins to love Goro. But there's also, like, is it romantic or is it a little cruel? 3 years is a long time. But once again, this is Fumiko's first love, and if she feels that deeply for Goro, 3 years will be worth it. For that, so that they can be together, and it's a way for Goro's dreams to be fulfilled, and Fumiko supporting his dreams while they are still waiting for each other. Romance versus a little cruel. And Fumiko did go into the past for this, but I really wonder if she would have waited for him anyway. I'm also wondering, this is a book in like the 2000s, but they should have been able to write letters. They should still be able to contact each other in some form of way. So even if she didn't go to the past and didn't see that Goro wanted her to wait 3 years, would she not have reached out in a letter? Scratch that, guys. I just remembered. Fumiko has a bunch of pride. That would not have happened. Fumiko would have just probably sucked it up begrudgingly and not contacted him. So don't know, man. But just the rules of a cafe being super complicated. Like, you have to stay in that seat. You must finish the coffee before it's cold. You can't change the presents. There's just a bunch of rules to assure you that you are not disappointed, but also that you are safe. And also, these rules are more of a metaphor for grief and the impossibility of fixing the past. So, when you have grief, you feel like you can't move on, which is what we are connecting to. You have to stay in that seat. You cannot move from it because no matter what you will do, the position will be the same. And then the can't change the present, there is no fixing the past. When something happens and you are disappointed or sad, whatever, you can't fix it. Even if you can go back to the past, which is not something that can actually happen, allegedly, there is no fixing it because it is now a part of the past and a part of the present. And the only thing that can change is the future. But this section, the story insists that the time travel of the cafe is only internal, and nothing external. So internal would be more, by the way, my little theory of like it's not actually them reliving, it's just like a story of the same exact thing was wrong, but it's more of what was happening in the moment, Fumiko's and Goro's relationship, the way that it had played out, that's all internal. And Fumiko going to the past, trying to change it, which before she found out she can change it, she wanted to change it. And those are now all external things, which does not happen, cannot happen. But the whole thing, Fumiko's greatest enemy was her pride. A week ago, before the time travel, her pride was the reason she didn't say anything to Goro, didn't tell her to not go, or what can I wait for you, like anything. She didn't do it because of pride. And then a week later, after going through all that trouble, after going into the unknown, basically, because she didn't know it was going to happen, she didn't know how the time travel worked, her pride still stopped her from saying anything. If Goro hadn't said to wait for her for 3 years, the conversation would have still ended with them just parting ways and nothing happening. Fumiko's bitterness about the coffee kind of mirrors her emotional guardness. Like, she has so much pride that she doesn't let it be known that she is in distress, that she does not want Goro to go. And her pride sabotages everything. But thanks to Goro's truth coming out somehow, conveniently, now she knows to wait 3 years and that it is not over. But it's that whole thing, like, Fumiko sabotaged herself and she got lucky that Goro loves her back. I don't know if Fumiko's pride will ever change, but Fumiko is very happy at the end of the story, so that's good. But the ghost in the sea warning. So the ghost in the sea being, that is the risk that you are taking. It's really there to test you. How much do you really want to go to the past? How much do you really care about this whole situation? Kind of all of that. It's kind of all I have. Kind of short because I expected another 30 pages, but it only ended up being 20 because the section ended, and I thought it would be a little weird to start the next section when this one wasn't fully done yet, and it was only gonna be like 10 pages, so I ended it right here. But yeah, I'm working on audio for this one. I'm working on the thumbnail. Last 2 episodes I was figuring out which mic worked better. Hopefully this audio isn't poppy. I'm trying to figure out why the audio was cracking in the last episode. But whatever. Overall, this book is growing on me. I do think there's like a decent amount left. There's this much left, and we've gone through this much. This is how much we've gone through. This is how much is left. And then I have my fishy bookmark. But so far so good. Next is the wife and the husband and wife. I read the first paragraph, and once again, information, no context. So super happy about where that's gonna go. But yeah, I have decided I'm gonna use this book. I think I said this at the beginning, but just repeating it. I'm gonna use this book as my learning curve. I'm gonna learn everything about editing, thumbnail, audio, sequencing, discussion, like anything I would need into this. And then I'm gonna transition over to something else, which I need to say. Um, but that is all I have for this one. It is shorter. But I am filming this last minute, by the way. I wasn't gonna post anything for this Monday because I was procrastinating. But I have a little bit of a gap, so I chose to film it because consistency. Um, Once I fully learn how to do this, I'll do quality over consistency. But the most important thing for me right now is consistency because I am a lazy person. And if I don't stay consistent, I'm going to stop and then I'm never going to pick it up again. So this is important. But I think that's all I have for this one. I do want to share the series that I'm going to do after this just because I already have it. And I am really looking forward to rereading this. Give me 1 second. Okay, this is the series. This is a thick series, by the way. I don't remember how long it took me to reread this, but this is the series, reawakened, recreated. No, reawakened, recreated, reunited. This is by Colleen Hook. I read these books during high school, maybe my sophomore year, and I really, really liked them. So I'm choosing this series as my next one. And then I'm gonna move on to the Penguin series. There's so many books that I want to read. Like, there is an endless, endless list. But I really like these, and I want to focus on these because this is something that I read when I was younger. And I would like to reread them. So I read them when I was 16, 17, and I'm gonna reread these as I'm 19/20 because I don't know how long it will take me to reread these. But that's all I have. So that's where I'm gonna end this right now. Okay. I will see you on next Monday. And as always, hold on. Let me think of the way to say this. Continue to be the person that you want to be. Okay.